poor old Ben felt bitter about it, and he's attacked me more in public than the Labour Party have. He's gone very bitter, very twisted. It's very sad. The fact that he's walked away, frankly, is a huge relief.
Well, there you go.
There you go, indeed. Ben Habib, the floor is over to you. How do you want to respond to Nigel? And Ben Habib, the former Deputy Leader of Reform UK, joins me live now. Ben, wow, you certainly set the cat amongst the pigeons yesterday. What I want to do with you first, if it's okay, Ben, is look at all of the key moments of the past 24 hours, and I'll get you to react as we go. So first up, you release a dramatic video announcing your departure from Reform UK on X. Watch.
And I think there have been a few more defections from the Tory party to Reform, and all of these are trumpeted. But it's our people that should be trumpeted. It's the movement that we created that should be trumpeted, not the people joining from the Tory party who are part of a party that delivered the country into the peril in which we now find ourselves. So I can't understand this obsession with recruiting Tories. Sure, there are some good Tories that are worth recruiting. Suella Braverman, for example. But why would you want to open the party up wholesale to defections from the Conservative Party?
And Ben, before I get you to respond, I want to show you what Nigel Farage told your colleague, Michelle Dewberry, on GB News after your announcement.
What would you say, I have to ask you as well, you've got Andrew Jenkins in. One of the things that many GB News viewers have been in touch about is Ben Habib. What's happened there for anyone that's not followed that twist and turn?
Yeah. Well, that was the real champagne moment of the day. I mean, it was a good day, but Ben Habib announcing he's not with us really was the absolute icing on the cake. Look, after the election, Ben didn't get elected, other people did, and he and David Bull had been the deputy leaders under Richard Tice. And I said, Ben, David, I'm really sorry, but I want to make Richard Tice the deputy because he's in the House of Commons. He will literally deputise for me when he's there and I'm travelling around the country. And David Bull accepted that and is very much a part of the organisation. And poor old Ben felt bitter about it. And he's attacked me more in public than the Labour Party have. He's gone very bitter, very twisted. It's very sad. The fact that he's walked away, frankly, is a huge relief.
Well, there you go.
There you go, indeed. Ben Habib, the floor is over to you. How do you want to respond to Nigel?
Well, I was on GB News earlier in the day with Martin Daubney, and Martin asked me about my feelings towards Nigel. And actually, I said, I love Nigel, and we could all get together for a group hug if that's what would settle matters. But this isn't about personalities. This isn't about me being bitter. This is not about me attacking Nigel. By the way, I've never attacked Nigel. No ad hominem attacks. I've never accused him of being bitter or being, throwing his toys out of a pram, not playing. My criticisms of the party have been just that. Criticisms of Reform UK, many made privately before they were made publicly, because privately it was impossible to get any traction with my criticisms. And we can go through what my criticisms are if you like. But Nigel is very wide of the mark when he thinks that I'm bitter because I was sacked as deputy leader. I looked it up. I looked up when Richard Tice invited me to be deputy leader, and it was at the sort of beginning end of beginning end of September 2023. And I did not accept until the 3rd of October. And the reason I didn't accept until the 3rd of October is because I actually, rather like I didn't initially want to join Reform UK, I didn't want to be its deputy leader. I wrestled with the invitation. Obviously, I was flattered to be invited to be deputy leader, but I didn't want to be deputy leader. I'm chief executive of a business. I'm running my own show. But in the end, I accepted that position because Richard convinced me, and Paul Oakton, who was chief executive at the time, that the party would stand a much better chance of getting itself on the map. Remember, we were only polling 5 or 6% back in those days, if I were to step up and take a more prominent role. I don't care who the deputy leader is. I'm only in politics for one reason. I said this to Nigel and many others, and I'm sure on your show repeatedly. I'm only in politics because the United Kingdom, as with Western civilization, as I see it, faces an existential crisis.
Big time.
And
We're in trouble.
And we're in deep trouble. And all of us who care about our nation states are obliged, in my view, if they're able, to get up and fight for their countries. I am able. Luckily, I'm quite wealthy.
Yes.
My children have grown up. And I'm not in it for private political advancement. I couldn't care less whether my bum's on a green seat or not. Frankly, I'd rather not be in Parliament. But if I had to be in Parliament to save the United Kingdom, I'd do it. So this has got nothing to do with any of the spurious reasons offered up by Nigel. Nigel, I'm afraid, did launch an ad hominem attack on me last night. I was on a plane at the time. Someone sent me a voice message of what he said, but he just attacked me. He said I was bitter, I was twisted, I wanted to be deputy. It's got nothing to do with it. I'm sure you've seen my video, Dan. You wouldn't have had me on if you hadn't seen it. And
No,
it's
I've
all
watched
about
it all, and you explain it
Yes.
all.
Absolutely. There's not a single attack on Nigel. Sure, I disagree with Nigel over Brexit. I disagree with Nigel over mass deportation. I disagree with him over my concerns about the rate of demographic change in this country. I disagree with the wholesale welcoming of Tories into Reform UK. These are ideological differences, and they were cited. And of course, it's impossible to make the case for my ideological position if the party isn't democratized. And the biggest battle that I've been having with Reform UK, which I've been having privately before I joined the party, continued to have while I was, part of the party, and I'm still, or had until at least yesterday, having with it, was the need to democratize, the need for Nigel to give up being the controlling shareholder in the company. Because if he gives up being the controlling shareholder, if control of the party is given over to a broader group of people, then actually you can debate ideology in amongst
but
those who are part of the party.
This seems to have got very personal, Ben, because
Not
James
from me.
Heal from The Spectator posted on X, and so this was during, I believe, the media huddle after the live press conference yesterday, asked about Ben Habib's resignation from Reform. Nigel Farage bursts into a rendition of "The Sun Has Got Its Hat On," hip, 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 hooray. Now, Tim Montgomery, formerly of Conservative Home, he posted
good
about this.
man,
I
Tim.
like Nigel Farage, but this was unnecessary. Ben Habib is a good man who served the Brexit and Reform Party cause very faithfully. I hope we'll continue to hear his voice in the media again. And I completely agree with Tim Montgomery, but what I just want to try and find out, Ben, because I completely understand, and we'll obviously go into it more, I understand where you're coming from ideologically, of course, but where has this personal bitterness come from with Nigel? Because, for example, when I departed GB News, Nigel was very honourable with me. There were no personal attacks, and he stayed supportive, and we've stayed friends and stayed close. So why does he seemingly have it in for you? Some people have said to me that he viewed you as a threat. Do you think that's what this is about?
Well, naturally, you need to ask Nigel why he's got it in for me on an ad hominem basis. Because if you look it back, and I challenge Nigel or indeed any other individual watching this program or interested in the matter to go back over the last 6 months, 7 months since I was sacked as leader and find personal attacks I've made on Nigel. You won't find a single personal attack made on Nigel. Yes, I disagree with him on Brexit. I've always said Brexit's not done. In fact, when I joined Reform UK, I insisted that Richard Tice put it in writing that Brexit was not done because I disagreed with Nigel. I didn't want to join a party which accepted the Brexit, the so-called Brexit that Boris Johnson gave us, because I don't recognise it to be Brexit. Northern Ireland has been left behind, etc. That's an ideological difference. Now, Nigel may disagree with me on Brexit, and he may even be affronted by my challenging him on it. But it is not a personal attack. It is something that I feel is crucial for the country. The vote for Brexit was a vote for the nation state that you and I both agree, Dan, is facing extinction. The vote for Brexit is something absolutely critically important to get right and deliver.
And I know how passionately you feel about the Northern Ireland issue too. But look, there's a couple of other clips that I want to watch along with you, Ben, and
Sure.
allow you to respond to. I think it's important because Julia Hartley-Brewer on Talk hosted Richard Tice. He replaced you as deputy leader, but he had been your ally in the past. However, there has been this split between the two of you over Richard's description of Tommy Robinson supporters as being that lot. But let's watch this interview now, and I'll get you to respond off the back.
We know that at least one of your former sort of leading lights is very unhappy about these defections from the Tories. Ben Habib, who used to be in the job you're in now as deputy leader, he has said in the last few months that he has quit the party. He's concerned about the policies on Northern Ireland. He says that Nigel Farage is apathetic to the issue of the demographic changes in this country from mass immigration. He wants deportations as policy. He also says your party's not a democratic party. It's still technically a limited company entirely owned and controlled by Nigel Farage and not a democratic political party. What do you say to that?
Well, look, that's the joy of free speech and democracy. Ben's entitled to his view, but his view is clearly not shared by the tens of thousands of people who are joining reform. We actually had a vote at the conference to change the constitution, so that's going through with the Electoral Commission so that it is a fully membership-owned company limited by guarantee. So look, all of that change is happening. People are voting with their feet. We're getting great results in by-elections every Thursday. We won 2 just last week in Kent. We got great results in Scotland. So look, we're making huge progress. And the fact that we've now got former Tory MPs defecting to us and wanting to stand for us is a very significant factor.
So, Ben, you had always been close to Richard Tice, but in your video quitting the party, you specifically pointed to the comments that he made about Tommy Robinson supporters as being part of the reason behind your departure.
Yeah, so I mean that was one of the ideological differences I have with the party, and there's a propensity, I think, for people on our side of the debate, nationists, if I may call us that, those who want to protect our country. I don't think we're right wing, by the way. We fall into the trap of saying we're right wing, but we're nationists. But there's a propensity of people on our side of the debate to throw our colleagues and kin under a bus in the pursuit, I think, of trying to sanitize ourselves, trying to make us appealable to Sky News and BBC and all the people who watch Sky News and BBC. We're prepared to chuck people under a bus. And the reference of that lot was made to the Unite the Kingdom march that took place, I think, on the 20th or 21st of September.
Yes, and Tommy was actually in jail by that point.
He was in jail, and I think various accounts say there were between 50,000 and 100,000 people there. And I can't make any case for finding 50 to 100,000 people who believe in the United Kingdom from a multiracial background, by the way, all there. I can't make any case for saying that lot and eschewing their support. They no doubt voted for reform in the general election. Tommy Robinson directed his supporters to vote for reform during the general election. And I don't think it's a very sensible political stance to take, to tell those who voted for you not to do so again. That is not going to get the party to where it needs to go.
But
I've got an issue with that. Yeah.
There is, Ben, the other side of the party. And I wanted to play part of this interview with Alex Phillips on Talk TV yesterday, because you were former colleagues. After the interview, she was very positive about you, said you're a very honourable man. But things did get heated during the interview, Ben. You know she remains an ally of Nigel Farage, and the clear impression that people like her feel is that you could have done this privately. You could have done this behind closed doors. So I just want to play part of this clash between you and Alex, and then we'll talk about it after.
Democratic unit that is the United Kingdom.
Surely you'd have been in a far better position to do that in a political party rather than...
Not in a political party controlled by one man. If you're standing for the democratically... If you're standing for the constitutional democratic unit that is the United Kingdom, and you keep banging on about democracy, and you say the British people must have the right to direct the government properly, you can't then say, I don't trust my own people to direct the party.
It seems to me the problem here now is you would rather sort of sling mud at reform. You could just
I'm not slinging any mud at reform.
Well, you are, aren't you? You're saying that the party won't democratise. You're sort of...
But they haven't. They said they would do it. A constitution was produced. I was told that, or the world was told, that the finest legal minds in the United Kingdom were working on that constitution. Actually, when it was produced, it was a document that had already been rejected by me 18 months earlier. There were minor tweaks, and I'd be surprised if any half-decent legal mind even had a look at it, let alone wrote the document. These are big issues. These are big issues, Alex.
Well, they might think that the biggest issues are trying to organise the party to fight in the forthcoming local elections, and they can deal with reforming the constitution at a later date.
So the sense I get from Alex, Ben, is that she is, and there's a lot of people who feel this way, and I understand this position. It's like, oh, we love you, Ben, but we want you in the tent. And isn't this more important? Isn't it more important to unite the right? I would say that's where she was coming from, because, of course, she remains personally incredibly close and loyal to Nigel.
Yeah. I mean, it may be politically expedient to say in the party, but if you stay in a party that is essentially not democratic, you have a single point of weakness, in this case, Nigel Farage. If Nigel Farage were to be hit by a bus, or if he changed his mind and decided he wanted to do something else, our entire efforts would be undermined. It is absolutely vital that if Reform UK is to succeed, if it's to promote the ideology that the democratic unit of the United Kingdom needs to be protected and promoted, if it believes in the democracy which it says it does, and it believes that British people can be trusted to direct the leadership of this country, to govern the country, it should trust its own people to direct the leadership of reform, to manage reform. And I've been having this debate with the party for years. And people say, well, Ben, do it privately. I've done it privately for years. I've brought it into the public domain when the private pleadings repeatedly failed. One of the drawbacks about private pleadings is people don't know they're going on. And so when you make it public, they say, why weren't you doing it in private? Well, let me just tell everyone, I've been doing it in private. And I was really gobsmacked, frankly, when Zayar Yusuf said he had the finest legal minds working on it day and night, and they produced a document that had already been around for a year and a half.
But first, with the holidays creeping up faster than your aunt's fruitcake recipe, I've got something way better to share with you. The discount for Black Friday, by the way, is off the chart, so you are going to want to hear this today. If you want to look sharp for all those festive gatherings and maybe finally win the Best Groomed at the Family Dinner Award, check out the latest from Manscaped, the Chairman Pro Electric Foil Shaver. Trust me, it's like Rudolph for your face, guiding you to a smooth, irritation-free shave. So let's dive into the goods. The Chairman Pro is armed with not one, but two interchangeable skin-safe blade heads. Think of them as your grooming superheroes. The skin-safe 4-blade foil, when you want that baby's bottom smooth, and the skin-safe stubble trimmer for when you want to keep some stubble but clean it up a bit. Both keep you looking sharp while minimising razor burn and irritation, because nobody wants to show up to the holiday party looking like they lost a fight with the Christmas tree. But wait, there's more. The Chairman Pro has Flex Adjust technology, which is basically like the holiday miracle of shaving, like Santa's elves just made it for you. The blades and pivoting head adjust to every curve of your face. It's gentle on the neck area too, as if they had the gift of foresight. So go on, kiss that awkward jawline patch goodbye. No more pretending it doesn't exist while you hope nobody notices under the mistletoe. And if you want an even more precision shave, on the right side of the bracket, there's this thing called a precision lock. When you lock it, the blade head sits firm so you can achieve a more precise shave. And here's something that's going to make your grooming routine even easier. The Chairman Pro is waterproof, so you can use it right in the shower. And the waterproof feature doesn't just make shaving easier, it also simplifies cleanup too. So just a quick rinse under the sink and you're all set. The Chairman Pro isn't just for daily shaves either. It's powerful enough to tackle up to 5-day growth, making it perfect whether you're shaving every day or just tidying up after a few days. And with up to 75 minutes of runtime on a single charge, you'll have plenty of juice to go from Santa's beard to smooth as an angel. It even has a travel lock, by the way, to help make sure it doesn't accidentally turn on in your bag, and an LED spotlight to help you see every detail, ensuring nothing gets missed. So get the Chairman Pro today and experience a shave that is as as smooth as you deserve. It has everything you need to keep your face looking and feeling its best, all in one box. So head over to manscaped.com and join the over 11 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by using the code Outspoken for free shipping. And guess what? To mark Black Friday this week, 25% off. That's www.manscaped.com. Remember to use the coupon code Outspoken at checkout.
I was also gobsmacked, frankly, when Nigel Farage said he was going to convert the company that's limited by shares to one limited by guarantee, when I know that legally that's not possible. You can't do it. You need to set up a new company. And Richard Tice said in his response to Julia on Talk that it's now with the Electoral Commission. It's not with the Electoral Commission. This new constitution, such as it is, even though I don't like it, hasn't been put to the Electoral Commission, nor has any new structure to the party. And it's been 2 months since the conference. You can do that in 24 hours. I could get a new company set up and I could apply to the Electoral Commission. It's an online application form. It takes 5 seconds to do it. They haven't done it. But I just want to say one more thing before I finish. Julia beautifully summed up my criticisms of the party when she was speaking to Richard yesterday. And there's not a single personal criticism of Richard or Nigel or anyone. They're all issues either of policy, ideology, or the constitution of the party. These are important things. And having made the case for all these things privately and then making them publicly and getting effectively not having, effectively the leadership being economical with the truth and then blocking me, that was the final straw, from meeting members of Reform UK, I decided enough is enough. I can't, when you opened this segment, you said the civil war in Reform UK. Actually, I haven't mounted a civil war. I haven't promoted a civil war, Dan. I've vacated the scene because I've done all I can, both privately and publicly, to try and get reform to the right place. And
I want to ask
to get
about
there.
What's next in 1 second. But first, it did feel like the pressure had got to Nigel yesterday because he snapped during an interview with Sly News. Now, in some ways, I don't blame him because Sly News were hectoring him over James McMurdoch and the fact that he had had this conviction over 20 years ago. But I just want to get your reaction because there's been, again, a real split about whether Nigel was right to storm out of this interview.
Involves being honest, though. Are you not concerned that he lied about what he did?
Did he? He wasn't vetted. He wasn't vetted. James McMurdoch was one of those many candidates who wasn't vetted at all with the party. Look, I didn't know any of this when I took back over as leader.
So you said you're going to put in place the most vigorous vetting system in place now. Do you think James McMurdoch would not go through this new vetting system?
You can have your fun at Sky News. We've got 100,000 members. I've got 1 million followers on TikTok. Dame Andrew Jenkins has just joined us. She's our candidate for Greater Lincolnshire. You've had your fun. I'm off for lunch. Thank you.
Ben, your reaction?
Well, that's the first time I've seen that because, as you might have gathered, I was abroad yesterday. I was on a plane and I came back last night. But I think that was actually a strategic exit by Nigel. I think he had slightly cornered himself in the debate with Sky News. Sly News, I love the way you call them Sly News. It makes me smile. He'd slightly allowed himself to be cornered by saying James McMurdoch hadn't been vetted. The implication being, of course, that if he had been vetted, he wouldn't have passed.
Be an MP, yeah.
And then and Sly News went straight onto that position, saying, well, had you vetted him, would he have passed? And suddenly I think Nigel thought, oh dear, okay, that's not good. So I think that was a strategic exit. It was probably the best he could make out of that situation at that time. And it was a seasoned politician's response to a difficult position.
Ben, you have a big following. A lot of people are going to be wondering what you do next. Are you considering setting up your own political party? Would you consider joining a more purely conservative party like UKIP? What are you thinking?
So I'm still thinking the United Kingdom is facing an existential threat. So I'm not leaving the political battlefield for saving our country. I'm not into think tanks. I think think tanks are all good fun and you can all sit around a table and think. But actually, you can't deliver any change. So it has to be through the ballot box that it's done. And then the question is, which political party and how do you get there? And frankly, I'm going to have a bit of a break. I'm going to go on campaigning and so on, but I'm going to have a bit of a party political break and just see how things pan out over the next few months. But I will be back. I will be back. Absolutely. One shape or form or another.
Well, we've got a live poll running today, Ben. Who is your favourite? 1% Dame Andrea Jenkins, 12% Alex Phillips, 33% Nigel Farage, 54% Ben Habib. So you're doing well.
Really?
With the outspoken
Really?
audience, Ben. So I think people are going to miss you. Yeah, I think people are going to miss
Dan,
you.
well, they won't miss me. I'm right here and I'm going to go on fighting. I'm flattered by that poll. What I would say to everyone is please don't be disheartened. Just because I've left reform, it may be the wake-up call reform needed to democratize and do the right thing. I hope it is. And I hope reform succeeds. And I hope I'm put out of business. That's what I want. I want the country saved. I want reform to do well. I want the country saved. And I want to be forced out of politics. That would be a dream.
Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.